Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Gabbing with Gabby. And today I have a very special guest. He's close to my heart. He's a family member of mine, my first family member that I'm having on the show. It's my nephew, Micheal. He's the ripe old age of 21. He's going to be 22 in a little bit, in about a
Yes,
month.
yeah.
Yeah. And I was there to celebrate his 21st birthday, actually, the last hurrah we had before
For
the
COVID.
pandemic happened. Yeah. We were in New Orleans. We went to Mardi Gras in February. And lucky for us, nobody caught COVID. Yeah. So Micheal has an incredible story. He suffered from severe OCD. He'll tell you all about what he was suffering from, exactly what it is. But to sum it up in a little tiny nutshell before I take it over to Micheal, is he was washing his hands up to 20 something times. And it was becoming very um, difficult to live a normal life, not just for him, but for my sister and for my mom and other people around him. But he recognized that it was becoming a problem and it was becoming a problem for other people around him. And he sought out help and he went to a really great place, Rogers Institute, and it pretty much saved his life, is what I've been telling people. It really did. It saved his life. And I really wanted him to be on the show. He's very open about talking about it. And I think that a lot of people may be able to relate to him, whether it is that you have OCD or something else. Um, but it's a great story and it's inspiring. And it's good to know that no matter what your age is, you can overcome something if you set your mind to it and you're ready and willing to. So, Micheal, the microphone is yours. The microphone.
All right, cool. Um, so just talk about
Go ahead and tell your
my
story,
journey.
buddy. Hmm.
So from seventh grade, from the summer of seventh grade, I started exhibiting symptoms of severe OCD, where I was completely obsessed with contamination to the point where I couldn't touch anything, much less walk on the ground.
Wow.
My first summer, I had a major outbreak where uh, if I walked across the floor, I would have to take a shower. Uh,
Wow.
so I was taking hour-long showers probably 5 times a day. Anytime I ate, I would have to take a shower. Anytime that I touched anything that wasn't my bed, I had to take a shower. And it just devolved from there. And it was really tough on everyone, because I became a shutout. I wasn't able to do anything. I was on the verge of catatonia,
Mm.
where I was afraid to come in contact with anything outside of my room, and even half the things in my room would cause me to panic.
So if
Um,
you, real quick, so if you were in your own home and you walked to the bathroom or went down to the kitchen or had to throw something in the trash, what would happen?
I would have to wash my hands. Uh, I had very specific rituals or doing things so that I
Hmm.
wouldn't touch anything. Uh, I started opening things with my feet.
Mm,
Uh, I started using my feet a lot so that I wouldn't have to touch anything. It
right.
started out with like my elbow, like I didn't want to use my hand to touch anything, but then that became too much because then I would have to wash down my elbows.
Wow.
Uh, it went through a ton of phases where it was just mind-numbingly painful. Um, and every single time I would have to wash my hands a certain number of times, and then I had to make sure that I didn't touch the faucet when I closed the tap. If I did, I would have to restart. Uh, I had to find clean towels. If I forgot to bring a clean towel, I would have to restart, go find another clean towel, then restart again and use the clean towel. It
Wow,
was
that's Crazy. Yeah, it's so crazy because I mean, it's just, I would imagine that your mind was just so consumed with trying to control this
It
this
was all I thought
habit
about.
of yours. Yeah, yeah, it's all you thought about. It was consuming. Yeah.
Um, and it when I got back to school, it was better.
Hmm.
The fact that I was surrounded by other people made it easier not to think about it. And
Was
that's one
that
of the
high
major.
school or college?
That was middle school. That was middle
And
school
oh,
when I
so
first
this is
started.
just the beginning. This is
This
very
was just the beginning. Yes.
so okay.
And uh, anytime I was alone, it would get worse. Um, and this is how it started. It ramped up from there. Um, I saw several therapists, but none of them really did the trick. Um, I was put on meds to help control it. And that helped a little bit, but it never stopped it. And it was all about halfway through high school, I realized that if I wanted to change this, I would have to really try on my end. I would have to just try and fight it. And that's really hard. I
Hmm.
gotta tell you, it's really hard trying to fight it by yourself. Um, got to the point where I don't know why I let it go this far, but I gave in, and because when you have OCD, it's like this little voice in the back of your head that's always going on and on and on, and you kind of have to try and bargain with it.
Hmm.
At least that's what it feels like. It feels like you're bargaining with the voice in the back of your
Hmm.
head. And I let it get to the point where anytime that I would have to go through my rituals, I would do it a certain number of times. And I let it get to the point where I would have to do it 25 times every single
Wow.
time. If I messed up, I would have to restart. Um, Going through high school, I was trying to slowly whittle that down by myself. And when I got to college, I did. I whittled it down from 25 to, I think it was 7 at that point. It was a
What were
huge.
the condition of your hands?
My hands were broken. They were cracked, and I couldn't even close them without feeling pain. Uh,
Oh,
my skin looked like scales,
oh,
and there was like blood constantly coming out of them. It was like actually really bad. Um, and my mom tried to convince me to put on lotion before bed to soothe them, but anytime that I would start freaking out, and I would have to go wash my hands again.
yeah, because it's like a contamination on your hands, and you feel it on there. Yeah.
And so I did manage to bring it down by myself, which was a huge accomplishment for me, and I felt very proud.
Hmm.
Um, but
Alone.
even
You didn't have a therapist at that time,
right,
right?
yeah, I did
Okay.
that by myself,
Yeah.
and even with that, it was still all consuming.
Hmm.
Like it just that alone helped me cope a little bit, but
Hmm.
the whole thing was just all consuming. And at that point, Um, I was moving into my first dorm with friends that I had just met, and it's really hard when you understand that there's a problem, that there's a problem, and you like it's a problem for yourself, but these are new people, and you don't want to put the problems on them.
Hmm.
So I was kind of caught between, do I lay out ground rules for them,
Right.
so that I have my own sense of peace, or do I just let them do whatever they want so they don't have to be um, affected by my OCD? And it was tough. It was tough. I had to eventually it became too much for me to handle living with 3 other people. I had to tell them about it, and they were pretty good about it. They were always trying to accommodate me. Um, but living with other people has always been hard for me, especially with OCD.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until last year that I finally heard about Rogers Behavioral Health,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's an inpatient behavioral health facility that focuses on all sorts of behavioral disorders. So
Mm-hmm.
OCD, anxiety, depression as well. And they honestly turned my life around. They were like the best friend that would never stop pestering me to get past it. And they knew
Mm-hmm.
just how to target it, and they worked with me every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped a lot. I am
Yeah.
perfectly content with where I am now. If you met me now, you wouldn't know that I've ever had OCD.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And OCD is chronic. It's going to be with me for the rest of my life. I'm going to have urges to slip back all the time. But they didn't just help me get rid of it. They taught me how to not slide back into it.
Right. They gave you tools on how to manage
Mm-hmm.
going forward for the rest of your life. There is something else too. It wasn't just OCD with the contamination. There were a couple of triggers for you too, big ones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about that.
At some point, I don't know when it started, but my main obsession it became a fear of AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the line, I got into my head that I would have a higher chance of getting AIDS if I went to Walmart.
Right.
So either of those words, AIDS or Walmart, anything from Walmart, anything, if I came in contact with anything even remotely related to either of those subjects, I would start breaking down. And there were times where I
But
actually
to
did
the
break
point
down.
where, it's like if you saw it on the TV or a bag,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah,
just,
no, if
oh, you say the word, it's seeing a billboard or see somebody carrying a bag with it,
yeah,
or carrying a bag that had a Walmart bag.
there was one time I was walking into Disney World
Mm-hmm.
and I looked down one of the rows and someone had pulled out a Walmart bag and they were walking into Disney World too. And I almost left.
Oh no.
I almost left, and that would have killed me because
Yeah,
Disney World's my favorite place in the world.
I know. It's the
Um,
happiest place on earth.
um, but
But it
yeah, I
could
mean,
not come into your house either. There's times
no,
where a
no, and
bag
there
would
were times that,
accidentally come into your house and
yep, and
things would
it
have to get
wasn't just
shut
washing
down.
my hands; it was washing everything too. I failed to mention that. Uh, I single-handedly um kept Clorox afloat.
Yeah,
So
really. Yeah, you were stocking up on Clorox wipes and soap before the
before COVID,
pandemic. Like you
I
had a
was the sole
whole,
proprietor. Um,
right. You had a whole cabinet full. Like you were like, oh, what are you guys having a hard time finding wipes? I have a ton. Look at my cabinet.
and luckily we were set for that because
Yeah, exactly. That's the
neuroses.
silver
But
lining of all this, right?
yeah, which did help in the first
Yeah.
few months of COVID. Um, but it wasn't just cleaning myself; it was cleaning everything. If
Mm.
someone walked in with a Walmart bag, I would make them leave. I would spray them down with Lysol, and then I would
Wow.
spray anything that was in that was within 20 feet of them,
Hmm.
just in case the particles could have
Right.
uh, spread out. And when you have OCD, you understand this is completely illogical, but there's no way that you can get around the feeling of
Hmm.
it. And it was just terrible because I knew that it made everyone else upset. but I couldn't stop feeling like it. And the hardest part was there was one time when Nona came over, and she was accidentally holding a Walmart bag or something. She had forgotten. I saw it. I started hyperventilating, and she was like, "Okay, I can't deal with this," and she left.
Oh,
wow. And it was really hard because I was pushing everyone away.
Right, because you can't explain. It may not be something that you as an outsider can understand, but it's something real that's going on in my head, and it's really affecting me. And I can't explain it. I can't tell you why it's happening. I can't justify why it's happening, but it's something that is really happening, and it's real for people. And now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I know people who are a little bit of a hypochondriac, and it's freaking them out, and they have to kind of constantly talk themselves off the ledge, or they're in therapy or whatever it is, because it's real. It's something, whether you understand it as an outsider or not, it doesn't matter. You're not meant to understand. You're just meant to empathize and have some compassion, right? You don't need to understand, because there's nothing to understand. It's like you said, illogical. It's not rational.
It's nothing that you could understand logically, because it doesn't exist in a logical brain. It just is. It's a feeling of intense terror and anxiety, and it comes about for no reason.
Right.
It's a state of hyper alertness that comes about because of just random triggers.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it is. It's just it's an acquired sense of terror.
Yeah. Now, how much soap, wipes, and spray were you going through on a daily basis?
Like the really big things of soap, I was going through probably half of that a day.
Wow, that's a lot. And you would be in the shower up to 5 times a day for an hour at a time.
Well, scrubbing
everything down.
In my, like, once I got to high school, I stopped that. I was able to stop going into the shower multiple times. However, I would spend probably 3 hours in the shower. And being from California, that hurts.
You knew exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, the water bill.
You obviously live in a place that has plenty of water.
So luckily, I live in Florida. And luckily, I had a really good heater. It wouldn't get cold until like right at that 3 hour mark.
But that was once a day, 3 hours. And were you just scrubbing your skin?
I had a routine that I'm not going to go over.
No, it's okay. But I'm just trying to get understand, like, it's just this constant rubbing.
There was a certain order that I had to do it in.
Yeah.
I had to do it a certain number of times. Okay. And then once I finished it, I'd have to do a certain number of I had to do the whole thing a certain number of times. Like
reps, basically, right?
Yes.
You're like, okay, head to toe, this certain way, left to right, head to toe, and now repeat so many times.
And then a good 5-10 minutes was me just like getting mentally prepared to turn off the shower.
Oh, I didn't know that part. Yeah, because you didn't.
I couldn't touch the shower.
So how would you turn the handle off, or how would you turn the water off?
Learn how to use my feet.
Okay.
I broke a lot of stuff by using my feet.
Wow.
There are several cabinet doors that have come off their hinges because I would use my feet to open them. I bent some of the metal because I used my feet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it was very debilitating for you. Could you go out and get a job?
No. that was out of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I tried. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I got a retail job,
Mm-hmm.
and day one, uh, I met a um co-employee. Sorry, I'm blanking.
Coworker.
Coworker, thank
Coworker.
you.
Yeah.
And she alluded that she had some sort of disease. She didn't say what it was, but immediately I thought she had AIDS, and like within a week, I sent in my resignation.
You couldn't do it, right?
Mm. I would dread like working with her.
Mm-hmm.
I would I would see that we were on the same schedule, and I would panic. Um, and it was bad. I did work with Nona for a while, and it was a very fast paced environment where you're constantly running back and forth. It was food service, so I had to constantly wash my hands, but it was so fast paced that I couldn't give in to my full ritual, which was very good for me. Uh, I just had to get in, do it, get out, and I couldn't think about it. I couldn't ruminate because it was such a fast paced environment.
And that's probably why when you were alone, it would get worse because you had time to sit and
Right.
think
Yeah. No, that's
and
exactly
it
what it
just
is.
stewing. Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. It helps you, teach you to kind of just, you got to push through. You just got to don't think about it.
Mhm.
You don't want it, no time to negotiate, right? With that
Right.
voice in your head.
And that's not what they want you to do in Rogers though, which
Hmm.
the whole point of Rogers was that you confronted the fear. They would
Hmm.
have you they would have you sit there and focus on what gives you anxiety, have you trigger the anxiety, feel the sense
Mm.
of terror, feel a sense of anxiety, sit in it for like a good 15-20 minutes, and then watch as it goes
Ooh,
down. And it was that every single day for 8 weeks.
wow.
And they would trigger you with more and more stuff. I had to create a hierarchy of
Yeah.
things that would set me off. Um, and it gets hard. It's mentally draining.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, you're taking every ounce of energy to emotionally, physically, mentally overcome this thing
Mhm.
that's already consuming. Well, for example, can you give us the example of how it was like with Walmart? Because I know some of the steps that you went through with that. So how did they do that?
So I luckily I went full in when we started
Yeah.
doing this. So I was making progress really fast, and it got to the point where we got to Walmart, and then my progress just like all but stopped. Um,
That was a top
it
one for you.
it was very tough for me. We had to do it at a very slow pace, where for the first 3 days, for the first day, just even downloading an app on my phone with the Walmart
Oh,
logo. Which, by the way, I broke 5 phones from wiping them down so much.
right. Because that's right. Yeah, because all the moisture. Yeah.
Um, so just downloading an app and like just looking at the icon, just something that simple. My therapist would send me pictures from inside of Walmart, just like looking at
Wow.
that, and I would start to panic, and I would have to sit there. I would have to call her, and I'd be like, "Okay, I'm feeling really bad right now." And they use a scale from 1 to 7, and 7 being the worst, 7 being a full-on panic attack. I'd be like, "Okay, I'm at a 6. Now I'm at a 5. Now I'm at a 4." And uh, you, she would work with me to like lower it
Hmm.
a little bit at a time. The idea being that your body can't stay in panic mode for longer than like 15 minutes because it's physically exhausting. Your body like can't sustain that.
Hmm.
Um, so just the first day, or the first day of like working on Walmart, because we couldn't work on Walmart for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The first day of work on Walmart, it was just sending pictures, downloading an app. It took like a good 2 weeks before I could even open the app.
Oh my goodness.
I had to open the app. I had to order something from the app.
Mm-hmm.
And just even order like something as simple as ordering it. Once I ordered it, I was completely wiped. I sat there. I felt gross. I took a shower and I went to sleep for like 10 hours.
Oh my gosh.
It
Yeah.
was
Just
mentally, that was
exhausting.
in the middle
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah. That's
It was so
exhausting.
mentally exhausting that I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Then it came to my house. It came in the Walmart bags to my house, and we couldn't open the door. I couldn't open the door for days. I had to sit at the window and look at it through the window until I was like mentally prepared enough to open it. And that took the better part of a week.
Oh man.
And it was just little by little. It was moving extremely slowly. But luckily, my therapist is amazing. And she was with me the entire time. And she was exactly what I need. She was like, okay, stop being a bitch. She wouldn't like coddle me or anything. She wouldn't coddle me. And it was very much like, okay, Michael, are you a bitch? I was like, no, I'm not a bitch. Are you a bitch? No, I'm not a bitch. Then touch the fucking Walmart bag. Sorry for my language. I don't know if you have to edit that out.
It's fine.
But
it's YouTube. It's fine.
Okay. Just like touch the freaking Walmart bag. I would be like, oh, fine, I ain't no bitch. I would grab it. Then I'd feel extreme anxiety, and I'd be standing there. She'd be like, "You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're not okay. Bring it in." And I would have to like bring in the bag inside, and then I would have to cross contaminate. The whole thing was cross contaminating. I had to touch everything because it wasn't. I failed to mention this before, but it wasn't just me feeling like I was contaminated. I was afraid of contaminating other things.
Mm-hmm.
So like anything that was mine, anything that I loved or enjoyed. So like my computer, which I used to play games, do homework, everything. I would never let that touch anything. I would never leave. Mm-hmm. I would never let it leave leave my bedroom because I was afraid that it would touch something. That it would get contaminated. First thing I had to do when I brought in the Walmart bag, set it down right next to the computer and just like cross contaminate.
Rub it all over your computer.
Yeah. And it was rough. It was really rough.
Wow.
But it was awesome. It was an experience. And actually, hold on one second.
Yeah.
Now I can do this.
Now
I keep it with me at all times. Actually, there was a really good stretch of time where sorry about this. It's going to be really loud.
Okay.
I had to walk around the house with it wrapped around my wrist like a bracelet.
Oh, wow.
Until I got acclimated to it. And to anyone that's watching this, it's like it may not seem hard at all. It's like it seems stupid, like, oh, it's a Walmart bag.
Yeah.
But this was my Mount Everest. That took everything out of me.
Yeah.
And it still does sometimes. Like even looking at this sometimes just gives me anxiety. And
you feel the echo of that old anxiety. I bet it's there, but you know that I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm no bitch, I'm not, I can
Exactly.
do this. I can
And
touch it.
when I do feel the anxiety about it, they taught us to just go against the grain. So
Hmm.
whenever I'm feeling anxiety about something, I go in on it. So if I don't want to touch the Walmart bag, I do. If I don't want to cross contaminate, I do.
Right. To push yourself through it, to
Mhm.
know that you can get through to the other side.
Mhm.
And we should mention that this is in the middle of the start of the pandemic
Yeah.
that you were doing this. Now,
Which
were you already in it when we went into quarantine?
I had
Or
done a I had done a week there before classes started.
Mhm.
Um, it was January 2nd. It was January 2nd. Um, the January 2nd, 2020 is when I went there for the first time. I spent a week there just trying to like see if I would like it or not. And they actually asked me to stay and not do this semester or do that semester at school. I
Mhm.
told them I can't do that because I was on a very strict schedule, but that I would be back for the summer. And I had to give up on an internship to do that, but it was
Mhm.
100% worth it to
It's
be able to do this.
yeah, 110% worth it. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally saved your life.
Hmm.
If you continued on this path, you would not have been able to function in the world in a healthy way. And it would have affected everyone else that you live with, your mom, your grandma, everyone, your Nona, and and anyone else that you came in contact with. You wouldn't have been able to hold a job.
Hmm.
There's no way, and it would have been difficult for you to maybe even finish school, depending on whatever, who knows, right?
Right.
But yeah, it literally saved your life. And it's, yes, to sacrifice an internship to get you where you are now seems well worth it. Well worth the price of admission. Yeah.
Luckily, I should be doing that internship this summer.
Hmm.
All things go well.
Yeah.
Uh, and now this time, my one of my best friends is actually running that internship, and uh, he was trying to get me on board with it last year.
Yeah.
And when he saw all of my progress, he's like, "No, you made the right decision. You,
Yeah.
I'm very happy that you stayed home and you did it and you worked on
Hmm.
this."
And he's one of your very good friends, so he
Yeah,
knows the
yeah.
severity, and he's lived with you. He lived with you for a while,
He lived with me for like 4 months.
right in the middle of it.
Um, this is one of my best friends, and
Yes. So he knows. Yeah. Now, one of the good things, another good thing that came out of going to the Rogers
I met my
Institute.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I met my girlfriend the day that I got there.
Yeah.
Uh, at the end of that week, I asked her out and we started dating.
Oh. And
Uh,
the great thing I think about this relationship is that you both can understand each other. Now, you both speak the same kind of what I call language, because that's kind of how Mark and I started dating, was in
mhm.
therapy, right? And we had the same language, and so we can understand each other, where other people may not understand that I'm going to do quotes language,
You
because
guys
it's
started
just
dating in
something.
therapy too?
Yeah, we were, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yes,
Okay.
I'll just keep it short. Yeah, like that's a whole nother story. But yeah. So but we understood what we were going through. So it was almost like two people who can commiserate together, and like, oh, I get totally what you're saying. Yeah, I
Mhm.
understand that verbiage that you're using. And so she can recognize some things in you and vice versa, and be
Yeah,
like,
each
is
other
this
accountable.
because, mhm, yeah. Yeah. So that's a good relationship. And she's as sweet as all get out, and she makes delicious bakery items that I'm
She
dying to
does.
try.
She does. Yeah. So for any of you guys watching out there, highly suggest therapy relationships. Yeah. They just last. They do. They work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with Mark now over 17 years.
So
I met
to
Mark
get
when he
therapy, go
was a
find a
little younger than
significant
you.
other.
Oh man, what a success story. So now, you feel pretty good about yourself
Mhm.
and you have a handle on your OCD. I mean, would you even say that you have OCD anymore? Are you recovering
Yeah, no,
OCDer?
I would say that I have it still. I still get the urges,
Mhm.
and it will be with me forever. It's
Mhm.
like I said, chronic. But now I have control over it. That little voice in the back of my head is almost non-existent now. It pipes up at times when I'm stressed,
Yep.
but now I know how to
Now you
block
know how to talk to it. You know how to manage
it.
it, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
It's so amazing. I'm so happy that, well, one, that you had the willingness to do it and go in 100%, because if you didn't have the willingness, then you there's no way
Right.
you would have been able to come out of it on the other side, right? So you do have to have some willingness to do the work, and it's hard work, as you could
Yeah.
heard from his story. It's hard work. It's not easy. You have to confront your fears. You have to go, and get your knees dirty and scrape up your elbows and all that stuff. And but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's saved your life, and you became out a better person, and everybody else around you is benefiting from it too, because it doesn't affect
Mhm.
their life anymore. So it's like a whole new world, really. A whole
Yeah.
new
I'm much more fun
world.
to be around now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's another thing. It's a good thing to bring up, is that, like, your mom couldn't touch your phone, but like me and Mima, my other sister, could. So it's like, again, it's
Yeah.
there's no rationale to it. There was something like she couldn't, but we could. Because I remember one time grabbing your phone, like, let me look, and then I was like, oh, sorry, and you were like, no, it's okay, I'm fine with you touching it. So it's just,
Yeah.
you
There's
couldn't even justify, rationalize, like, well, why can't she touch your phone, but I can touch your phone. It's like you just let it go at that point.
it
Like,
just
I don't
it
know.
there was no rational reason to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, it just was what it was. It was just emotions and feelings. I just
Yes.
it felt like it was fine at the time.
Yep. So please share again the name of the institute you went to, and we're going to
So
put links in the description below.
perfect. So the institute is called Rogers Behavioral Health Center, and they have bases all across the U.S. Uh, I know of at least two in Florida, and they're making more. Um, and given the pandemic, they are doing telehealth,
Hmm.
which is what I did, which was actually way better for me, anyways, because most of my triggers stemmed from at home, anyways.
Hmm.
Uh, it's very effective, and if you're struggling with anything at all, I guarantee they'll be helpful.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not just OCD and anxiety; it's depression as well.
Okay.
I know that this pandemic is very hard on everyone in a number of different ways, um, and they're very good at helping. They're very good at what they
Hmm.
do.
Hmm. Yep, they sure are. So we'll put that in the description below. Michael, thank you so much. This is so inspiring, and the fact that you're so young, I think, is even more inspiring to people, because
Thank
you were
you.
able to overcome something that, it was truly severe. I mean, the worst I've ever heard of, and because I know you personally, I know the
Mhm.
effect that it had on you and everyone else. So thank you so much for being willing to share. I hope that whoever's watching, that you find some inspiration and you find some hope, and then you find a way to get help, and you can either go to the description below and contact Rogers, or find someplace else, but know that there is always the light at the end of the tunnel. And I thank you for watching, and I thank you for being on, and we'll see you next time on Gabbing with Gabby. Bye.
Hey. There's um
Yeah.
there's a poem if anyone wants to know what it's like inside of the head of someone with OCD. It's called OCD by Neil Hilborn.
Okay.
It's spoken poetry, and if we could tag that at the end,
Oh yeah.